Hey guys, I just got the new GoPro Hero 9 and I'm going to show you how I did this time lapse in 5K. Hey guys, I'm Patrick. Just wanted to do a quick tutorial on the time lapse that you just saw with the GoPro Hero 9. Just before I get into the tutorial, if you really appreciate if you like, subscribe this video if you find it helpful. It really helps the channel out. Small YouTube channel that's into GoPro drone stuff, landscape photography. So if you're into any of that stuff, you might find my channel interesting, and we really appreciate it. So let's get to the settings. So what you first want to do is go down to time-lapse mode and go to Lightlapse mode, and just go into the Pro-Tune settings, switch it to photo mode. You don't want to do video. 5-second interval I think is plenty for a cloud, like clouds, moving clouds. You might need to change that depending how slow or fast your subject is moving. Because of the light change, because this is a day to night transition, you want to leave your shutter speed on auto. Output definitely raw, so we can edit in post. And white balance, I'll just leave it on auto because you can always sync those up in post to match the white balance that you want. Sharpness I'll leave on low, color leave to flat, and that is pretty much it, guys. One thing that's really important, guys, is definitely use a tripod when you're doing a time lapse, just to keep the camera stable. You don't want it to move, anything like that. I'm using a manfrotto tripod here. There's been times where I've used a gorilla tripod. I don't recommend using something like this. Well, it's better than nothing, I guess, but if it's like a windy day, see, it's not very stable, a bit of wind will shake that. You want something sturdy so the camera doesn't move, otherwise your time lapse will look shaky and it'll turn out pretty crap. So the software we're going to use for post-processing is a program called LRTimelapse and Adobe Lightroom. So LRTimelapse helps transition the light change. So in this example, it's day to night, and I've done another YouTube tutorial if you want to check that out. The link is up there. That was from night to day, so sunrise. That was with my Sony A7R III. But this tutorial, we're going to use the see what the GoPro Hero 9 can do. So the first thing you want to do is get all your raw files, copy them onto your computer. So next we'll download and install LRTimelapse. LRTimelapse is free for the first 400 images. After that, if you've got more than 400 images, you have to buy a license. So once you have copied all them, go to the folder on the left hand side here, and all you have to do is click on keyframes. So depending how much light change you've got, you might need more keyframes, but this one's a gradual. You can see by this line here, it's a nice steady gradual dip in light. So for that, I reckon 3 keyframes is plenty. So I'm just going to drag that slider to 3. So you can see by the diamonds here, 1, 2, 3. It's 3 keyframes. Click save. Now we've got. Now we're going to use Adobe Lightroom. So once you've saved your keyframes, click this drag to Lightroom button, drag it over to Lightroom after you've opened it, and import those keyframes. Well, it actually imports all the files, and it stars the keyframes. So once those images are finished importing into Lightroom, go down on your library tab, go down to the bottom right hand side and click filter out the keyframes. And then that will just filter in the keyframe images. So that's the first image. So you want to start editing now. So what we're going to do is just make some simple edits on the first picture. Just click auto first, and I'll just speed up this part here, and I'll show you the next step. So once you've done that, you're happy with the first image, what you do is shift, click on the next image, click sync, check all, synchronize. So this will help with getting that smooth transition of light going on your time lapse. So again, make necessary adjustments. Once you've done a second image, repeat the process, shift, click on the next image, sync, and then we edit the last image. Okay, so once you're happy with those edits, just click G on your keyboard, select all your keyframes, and then you go to metadata, save metadata to files, then we head back to Lightroom, we head back to LRTimelapse, click reload, and you'll see a lot more information appear on the right hand side of each of these files. So what LRTimelapse has just done is it's calculated from those, in between those keyframes, all the edits to make it a nice smooth transition. So just click auto transition now. Click save. Now head back to Lightroom, turn off the filters so you see all the photos, filters off, select all of them, so just Control A if you're on a Windows computer, and click read metadata from files. Now you start seeing all the previews, all those edits go on your preview photos, so that might take a little while, so we'll wait for that to finish, when we'll come back after that's done, and we'll start editing with Premiere Pro. Alright, so once that's all synced with time-lapse, you want to export them all, so just right click or just select all of them, Control A again, go down, right click, go down export, and export all those. Now the settings, I've got some saved presets here. You want to have this as high quality as possible, so the first thing, you obviously just choose a location. I'll just make a folder called JPEGs, select folder, and what you want to do is, this will help you import them as a time-lapse in Premiere Pro. So just click on the file renaming, click sequence, and it will number them 1 to 100 or how many photos you've got. So I'm just going to give it a name, sunset, go 9 sunset time-lapse, and you want to make sure that's 300 max resolution, don't resize, click off any watermarks you got, and then just hit export. Depending how fast your computer is, this might take a while, and depending how many computer files you got and how fast your computer is, this might take a while. So again, we'll just come back and finish off the time-lapse tutorial. Just made myself a cup of coffee while that was exporting, and yeah, we're ready to open up Premiere Pro, finish off the time-lapse, and get ready for awesome GoPro 9 sexiness. Okay, so just first step you want to do is open up Premiere Pro. I don't think I need you don't need that step, but that's what that really is the first step. Make a new project, name it GoPro 9 awesome 5K time lapse, right? Double click import media, find your JPEGs, and what you want to do here is just select the first one. Now this is what I was talking about, how they're all numbered. This will help Premiere Pro determine it's a time lapse, so they all play as a video in order. Otherwise, it'll just be like one big picture. Okay, so yeah, that's ticked. So open. What I like to do, especially because it's 5K, and depending on how good your computer is, I think most computers would struggle playing back 5K. I'd create a proxy. So right click that file that you just imported, go to proxy, create proxies, select low resolution proxy, just click OK. That will open up Adobe Media Encoder, so you do need Adobe Media Encoder installed. Once that's done, we'll just wait till that's converting to a low resolution. I should explain what proxies are while that's encoding. A proxy will just make a copy, or the exact same copy of your file, your video, but a very low resolution one. So then you can play it back, do editing and all that stuff, and it won't play back with lag and stuttering, and you can play it in a very smoothly, so it'll be a much easier workflow experience. I've got a powerful computer and I still use proxies, because even with 4K it still struggles to play it back, especially after you do add color grading, music edits and all that stuff. Well, first we need to create a sequence. So just press Ctrl N, and we want to make this a 5K sequence. So I think I've saved that already. No, I haven't saved, so that's good. We'll go over that quickly. Go to where is it? The DSLR. Go to Digital SLR. Click the first one if you like. I want to play mine back 30 frames a second. I just find this clouds move more smoothly. So highlight that, then go to Settings, 2880. So let's make that 5120 by 2880. Leave that at 29.97. Click OK. Now we want to drag that over. Yeah, just click Keep Existing Settings, because I think the picture is a little bit higher than 5K. Now this is how we enable the proxy. So you want to click the little, if you don't have this enabled, you want to enable this little icon here. So click the plus button and you'll find that button somewhere here. So select that toggle proxies button and click OK. So that will play the full version. I've just unticked the toggle proxies, and if you click play, it'll play, and then it'll probably start getting choppy. Yeah, it's getting choppy now. It's getting pretty choppy. So if you click toggle proxy, it might look, the playback might look a little bit less quality, but it's normal. But it'll play nice and smooth. Now that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's make this a little bit more immersive, right? We could add some sound effects. So what's that sound like? Oh yeah. So that's good for the night. What about the start? Nature, birds. Forest, morning birds. Doesn't sound windy there. Rainforest sound effect. It's a bit too much. What about forest morning birds? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So what I like to do when I do a time lapse, when I get there, I try and remember the sounds. So like crickets, kookaburras, other birds, and then I try and get those sound effects to match. We'll just add these sound effects in. Forest morning birds at the start. We'll fade that in. And then when the birds go to sleep, which is what they normally do when it starts getting dark. We'll just fade them out about there. Cut that video about there. Fade that out, and then we'll add the crickets. We'll just overlap a little bit. Fade that out there. I'll just try to play it back first. Okay, so the birds sound a little quiet compared to the crickets. We'll just raise that volume by about 10 dB. Play it back again. Sounds better. Sounds so peaceful. Just makes me want to live in, you know, a hut sometimes with my GoPro. Okay, we'll just fade out the birds, say all the way to the end, because you can still hear them cut off. Sounds a bit unrealistic. So let's get that, drag that all the way there. Play that back again. That sounds pretty good. And I'll tell you one more thing that we can do to make this time lapse a little bit more sexy, right? We can add a keyframe to slowly zoom in. So what we can do is scale, so 100%, click, so drag the slider all the way to the start, click the the stopwatch button there, then go put the time all the way to the end, and then say we'll zoom in, say 150%, and then click, it's already automatically done that. Now it will slowly zoom in around the same speed as the cloud's moving. Yeah, you can see that zooming in a tiny bit, and that draws the viewer in to the foreground. That looks cool. Now there's one thing I did forget to do when I was editing in Lightroom, just before we export it, is I forgot to reduce the noise. So when you have dark areas, you'll get this like grainy, see that stuff there on the sides? That's called noise. So what I should have done is reduce the noise in Lightroom. So if you zoom in here, see that all that noise there in the dark spots? If you go down to noise reduction here, if you just increase that to say 50, that looks a lot cleaner. So I compare that to unedited version, see how amount of noise compared to that, compared to the noise, the image that I just reduced the noise at. Yeah, so that would get rid of most of the grain in the video. Alright, that's pretty much ready to export now. So what we're going to do is just press Ctrl M, and we want to export it in 5K. So just select H.264 for the format. You can start off with match source, but I've got a preset already. You can save your preset here as well with the correct settings, but I'll go over the settings with you. Select the output name, put the location in, so let's call it GoPro 9 Sexy Time Lapse. Okay. Now just make sure it's 5K, so what we said before was 5120 by 2880, so make sure that's in the resolution. Make sure your frame rate is 29.97 or whatever the frame rate you want to use. Click render max depth, Now this is the important bit. For say you want to upload it to YouTube, select constant bit rates, which is CBR, and I put mine to 100. I haven't tested this with 5K, I'll use 100 for 4K. I haven't researched yet what's the best export bitrate for 5K. It might be a little higher, but I'll just use 100 for now, just for the purpose of the video. Make sure that's set to entire sequence, and we can leave frame sampling alone. For the audio, it's pretty much default audio codec AAC, sample rate, the highest one, 48,000 Hz, stereo high, bitrate settings 320, and that's pretty much it, and hit export. Alright, so that's pretty much for this tutorial, guys. Hopefully this will help some of you guys out with your time-lapse processing. This is what I use, it's my favourite method to get that nice light transition so you don't get any flickering, yeah, things like that, because they look pretty bad. Yeah, so give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment if you've got any questions. It really helps the channel out, and you might want to consider subscribing. I'm a small YouTube channel that enjoys this sort of stuff like GoPro, landscape photography, drones and things like that. So yeah, feel free to check my channel out, and I'll see you next time.